Hey, my friend, everyday cyclist. My name is Graeme Street. I'm the owner for cyclo-core training and cyclo club membership, and I'm here to share with you a secret, simple endurance formula that I've used to help people do everything from RAGBRAI to DECA Ironmans to 200-mile events on less than 10 hours of training per week. I know it's standard dogma that most everyday cyclists build endurance by going out and doing long, slow base miles, accumulating more and more time in the saddle. And although this antiquated notion of spending longer hours, endless hours in the saddle is the only way to build endurance, there is another way. In fact, there's a much more practical way, and one that I guarantee you will not just help you build the same level of endurance, but boost your endurance capacity by at least 10% or more over what you can do right now. For some of you, over 20% more endurance and tempo following this formula. First of all, one of the things that I've shared before, and many of you still haven't figured out, is that what we really want to do is prioritize key rides. I would rather have you have one solid endurance tempo ride, okay, per week or per 2 weeks than 5 lame-ass, below-intensity endurance rides just to accumulate miles and time. Again, this is where we see a big mistake with a lot of everyday cyclists, is spending too long on the things that they either already do well or below the capacity that's going to force you to make a positive change. What we want to do is accumulate what's called weekly fatigue. If you're using my CYCLO90 base, and definitely my CYCLO90 in-season training systems, which I know many of you are using now for both road and mountain bike, what you're going to see me doing is a very specific, very proven pattern of accumulating specific types of fatigue, or what we would call stress, training load. These aren't just workouts to push you harder or to make you sweat or to make you lose weight or to build, a high-end Zone 5 fitness. Each workout, between my HIIT 30-minute workouts here on the trainer with me, 30 minutes, very high intensity, my Core 2.0 workouts, and definitely my written out, coached, in-ride workouts, the techniques and drills to bring out to the bike. Each workout has specific purpose for building more stress and more fatigue. And how I organize those workouts from day to day and week to week is what accumulates more fatigue or creates more stress load on your body. And it's that stress load that leads to the endurance gains. What most cyclists tend to do is stay below a specific endurance load and then wonder why when they get to their big endurance event, they just don't have what they were hoping for a result and an outcome. And the reason why is because they didn't stimulate their body enough to create enough stress and enough fatigue at the right time. Timing is critical, my friends. You can't have supreme endurance every day, every week, all year long. Whoever taught you that, whoever taught us that, was dead wrong. It's going to oscillate. What we want to do is be on top of the curve, so when we want that endurance to be at its best, we can execute it. Second thing, and I've mentioned this before, some of you are still not hearing me. You want to prioritize muscular endurance in your training. If you're not prioritizing more and more muscular endurance in your training, at least 1/2 to 3/4 of your training should be prioritized around muscular endurance tension building. The ability for your hips, your core, and your legs, and your upper body, depending if you're a mountain biker or not, to be able to withstand more and more fatigue. It's that muscular endurance that resists the fatigue. So those of you that are going out and hitting your 3-hour marker, your 4, 5-hour marker, and seeing a big breakdown in your speed potential, your performance potential, you're seeing spots because you're having a breakdown because you've exerted too much energy too quick. More than likely, it's a combination of not pacing yourself right, which we're going to talk about here in a second, and not having enough muscular endurance. One of the reasons why in my CYCLO90 training you see such a huge preponderance of muscular endurance training both on the bike and off the bike is that I know if I can build your muscular endurance high enough, everything else is easy. Everything else is easy. That one thing is the major determinant on how well you're going to perform. Third thing for endurance here, and I need to look at my notes real quick, I'm talking too much. Recovery placement. Where are you going to fit in the appropriate recovery, not just between workouts, but also between intervals, sessions, and weeks. So many of us get so fixated on a goal or on an agenda or an event that we're going to that we forget to really calculate in how much recovery is going to be needed and where are we going to take that recovery to maximize our performance come the big day. How many times have I been a cyclist years ago or run into thousands of you that your training's going great, you're following everything correctly, you're building your muscular endurance, your pacing's going well, and then you get to your big event, your big endurance ride, and you kind of collapse. You don't get the performance you want. Usually, it's because your ego is not allowing you to take enough of a recovery cycle, a tapering cycle, in the right way to maximize your strength, performance, and endurance at the event itself. There's nothing worse than training for 15, 16 weeks for a big monster endurance event and not having a good day. And a lot of times it's because we get in our own way. And this is why in my CYCLO90 in-season protocol, every single training plan that I have in there for you, from the road performance to the road climbing, the endurance, the mountain bike training plans, every single plan has calculated both weekly recovery and taper recovery so you can build your training module to get to your event at your not just your strongest, but also your most recovered. When these things two collide, now you're going to have a breakthrough day, and I'm assuming that's what you want. Last two things for endurance rides, and pay close attention. This again, is the secret ingredients for the final day for that big ride. Pacing. Pacing. How to pace your energy out. How to dose your energy out over the duration of the course. The first step, of course, is to know the course to the best of your ability. Now, for a 100-plus mile ride, a 200-plus mile ride, there's only so much you can know. However, with GPS out there and Strava and Garmin's, you can look at tons of different data and begin to create what I would call zones. Not just zones of output, but zones of the course. Knowing certain sections are going to probably require higher levels of output. You need to budget your energy for the day through pacing to make sure you can get from point A to point B with as minimal drop-offs in energy as you can. As you know, as a cyclist, once you kind of flatline, it's pretty tough to bring yourself back up onto online to get to the end of an event. You need to know going into an event, you're always going to hit some lulls. That's expected. But you're going to hit higher and lower lulls if you execute too much energy too quickly because you're so excited to be there, or you didn't come in with a specific pacing plan. Pacing plan is everything for you to complete a good, not just endurance training ride, but an endurance event as well. Fifth thing, final thing, your fueling. How many times have I seen literally thousands of you do all the training right, your pacing's right, everything's great, but you didn't create a fuel strategy to make sure you got from point A to point B with enough food. You didn't take into account possibly altitude changes, temperature changes, how much rest you've had changes. All these things are gonna play into how well your body can use the food you're giving it during the ride. This is why I have my CycloFuel nutrition plan for you, which you can use with CYCLO90 base and off season. CYCLO90 in season. That gives you the performance menu plans, the supplement strategies, the in-ride strategies to execute a fuel strategy on top of your pacing strategy. If you don't have them working together, if you are pacing perfectly but your fuel plan sucks, you're not going to have a good day for a long ride. If your fuel plan is fantastic but you're not pacing properly, you're not going to have a good ride. It's not just one or the other. Endurance is not random. Let me repeat that. Your endurance performance is not random. Out of the 5 things I just gave you, each one has equal importance to the other. If you can begin to think like that, begin to structure your training like that, you're going to have a much better outcome. My friends, I've got a quick, right below me, I've got an example of an endurance ride. I did a 70-mile enduro yesterday on my full suspension bike. I'm preparing for the Wildcat 100 mountain bike race. Requires a huge amount of stress, a huge amount of fatigue. Look below, you're going to see a couple little, if you're paying attention, some things that went on during that ride that created probably the best endurance ride or training ride I have done so far. I'm using that to build that endurance for big events coming up. If you don't have CYCLO90 base, that's where you want to begin. We're going to go over everything that we just did in your training for CYCLO90 base. If you've already completed CYCLO90 base, you want to move to the CYCLO90 in season. That's when we really begin to accumulate lots more fatigue, lots more stress. We still do it in a very simplistic way and prioritize. Instead of doing 50 long, boring rides, we're only doing a handful of long rides, but those rides are going to have so much more potential. Remember, I guarantee you at least 10%, if not 20% endurance performance improvement by using the CYCLO90 training system. So we speak again, my friend. Please share this with friends. Think before you go out there on your bike. Ride safe, and I'll talk to you soon.